My daughter stopped calling my husband Papa after she heard him say that she is not his real daughter. Now my husband is depressed and beyond repair. I got pregnant with my daughter Sarah when I was in college. My parents and my then boyfriend's parents pushed us to marry, and we did. My late husband unfortunately passed away a week after our daughter's second birthday because of a heart complication that we did not even know he had. It was a very hard time for me, and I went through a very bad depression. 4 years later, I met my now husband, Robert, on a blind date set up by a friend. He was one of my best friend's cousins. We hit it off and got married a year later. Even when we were dating, he was very hands-on with my daughter, and it did not take too long for my daughter to call him Papa. Even until we got married and when I got pregnant 2 years into the marriage and gave birth to twins, he still acted like a father to Sarah. She was included in my husband's family reunions and the cousin group photo shoot that my in-laws organize every Christmas. Things took a bit of a turn when Sarah turned 18. She started calling him by his first name, and Robert and I were taken aback by her attitude change. I asked Robert what that was about, but he only shrugged, not knowing why. I thought things would return to normal, but she has consistently called him by his first name, so I asked her if we could talk. Robert asked if he could join, to which Sarah agreed. To summarize, my daughter overheard my husband talking about a Father's Day trip to his friend who owns a hostel. His friend asked him if he had forgotten to include Sarah since my husband had only asked him to prepare 3 bedrooms. My husband replied that he planned this trip for his real children only. It wouldn't make sense if Sarah were on the trip since he wasn't her real father. This made Sarah feel betrayed and hurt because she saw him as her real dad, even if she knew he was her stepdad. My husband tried to explain that though he loved her as a father, his love for the twins was different since they were his real children. I wanted to just shut him up because he was overusing the word real, but Sarah told us to leave her room. What made that day even more depressing was that this day was her last week with us before she left the country for college. Since then, Sarah acts like nothing happened every time she comes home, but continues to call Robert by his first name. Robert didn't want to add fuel to the fire and tolerated it. And now, a few years after that, my daughter has announced her engagement to her longtime boyfriend. We were very happy for her, as they have been dating since they were still college freshmen. We wondered who would be walking Sarah down the aisle 2 weeks before their wedding. I assumed it would be Robert since I thought we had moved past that incident, but no. When I told her about Robert walking her down the aisle, my daughter scoffed at me. She said, "I thought it was obvious that Uncle Greg would be the one to do that. Besides, I'm not his real daughter. It wouldn't make sense if he walked me down the aisle." I did not talk back. Instead, apologized for my ignorance and told her that I'll speak with Robert about it since he also assumed he'd be the one to walk her down the aisle. When I told him what Sarah said, he was pissed, but I politely reminded him of the incident years ago, which upset him even more. He noted that it was long ago and that Sarah should move on. I, who was offended for my daughter, told him he shouldn't be upset since he doesn't see her as his real child. He then got teary-eyed and told me to not speak to him. He still attended Sarah's wedding but looked visibly down. We still aren't on good terms and have been pretending in front of relatives. My daughter does not know about this, and I want to keep it that way. Nevertheless, it's been a week since my daughter's wedding, and Robert is still upset. He only talks to me about the twins and household stuff, but beyond that, he keeps everything to himself. I feel terrible and think he is acting this way because of me.